Welcome back, Patriots, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show. It is officially December 4th. Holy smokes! And Donald Trump is still by far, not even close, the best president in American history. And we got some news for all of you today, and we're going to make sure we break it down. But before we do that, make sure you head over to baldbrad.com and check out the goodies that we have over there. Baldbrad.com. And we got a book here, folks. And this is a book that is always going to be timely because the progressive left ain't going anywhere unless something odd happens and their ideology is completely crippled. But other than that, they will continue to grow, they will continue to fester, and they will continue to try to destroy this great nation of ours called the United States of America, baby. Learn how the anti-police movement is really a blueprint for social chaos. We also talk about how the left's calculated use of race, they utilize it to divide the nation. They're pushing socialism disguised as compassion, and how indoctrination in schools is reshaping the minds of the next generation. And lastly, the big one, the role of the mainstream media in silencing dissent and spreading propaganda. There's also a chapter on abortion where I take you back to ancient times when they used to perform abortions, and then taking you all the way to the scientific revolution where we could detect life, or what some believe to be life. So phenomenal book. It's a great book. I wouldn't plug it if I didn't think it was good. I wouldn't keep selling it if I thought it wasn't good. And it has 5 stars. So, I mean, what do you want from me? It's the best. And then it is the holiday season. We do have merch. You want to get that now because, the shipment. You know, if you buy the stuff up like they're hotcakes, they're not going to get to you, are they? And some of you live in the middle of nowhere. And it's tough to get products to you. So make sure you check that out. God bless all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. You're keeping the lights on for me. Appreciate you. So, we got some news here for all of you. Where was I? NATO. Oh, NATO. And hopefully everything's coming across clear with the mic. The Ukraine peace negotiations, as you could imagine, just became a lot more complicated, Patriots, because NATO has decided it doesn't want to sit in on the sidelines anymore. It doesn't want to sit back. The U.S., as you already know, is trying to broker a deal between Russia and Ukraine. But the alliance, especially Europe, because they can't keep their damn fingies out of everything, says, not so fast. Let's jump into this news that's happening right now. So almost every NATO foreign minister met in Brussels yesterday, and their meeting was to coordinate a strategy on Ukraine. One person wasn't there. Do you want to guess who that one person was? Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Kind of the big piece to the pie there. First time in 20 years, a U.S. Secretary of State has missed this meeting. And NATO definitely noticed. Now, publicly, they're pretending it's fine because Rubio has built up trust. But behind closed doors, European diplomats are leaking frustration. They feel the U.S. is running peace negotiations without them. Make sure I mute this again. There we go. And Washington is making proposals that they didn't approve. That's what they feel. Turns out feelings nobody really cares about over here in America, unless you're a lefty. Especially Trump's 28-point plan. So because they're not involved in all this, and they don't have any say, their panties are all in a bunch. Because remember, Europe is footing much of the bill. And Europe is directly threatened if the war reignites. Well, you probably shouldn't have waited so long to allow Russia to become so powerful. But these are the same people, remember, that, it'll be fine if we get energy from Russia. And Trump's like, I wouldn't do that. Oh, that's a really bad idea. I really wouldn't do that. But do what you will. You'll learn. It'll happen. And it did. They started burning wood to stay warm. That's bad. When a country has resorted to burning wood to stay warm, that's like that's bottom of the tier. That as low as you can get. Once you're burning wood to stay warm, it's almost GG. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who is the former Dutch prime minister, not that it matters, is making it clear. He said, quote, Ukraine must keep fighting, even while peace talks are happening, end quote. What's the translation for all that? NATO's preparing for a long war. Not a quick settlement here, folks. This thing ain't ending anytime soon. Rutte is pushing a funding plan that keeps Ukraine armed into 2026 and beyond. Europeans are committing $1 billion per month to buy U.S. weapons for Ukraine. Now, look, at least we're making some money out of this whole thing. That's an enormous political investment and explains why European leaders are resistant to Trump's peace plan. I also have my conspiracy theory that I believe this is all part of the war machine's continuation of making a boatload of money. I find it a little bit odd and a little bit weird that right when you have the Afghanistan pullout, you also have in a relatively close time frame, you also have Russia invading Ukraine. So the second we stop pouring a bunch of money into Afghanistan and Iraq and all these countries, you all of a sudden have somebody else going in to invade, and then we're selling munitions everywhere and making some moolah. So our government is buying weapons, but instead of our government buying weapons now, it's the NATO countries buying weapons now. Oh, okay. Because if a deal is signed tomorrow, Europe looks like it wasted billions propping up a losing campaign is kind of how they're looking at this whole thing. What's really driving this NATO position then? Because it's not coming out of left field, to be real. And there's two big fears for Europe right now. The first fear is if his actual plan becomes reality, Ukraine permanently loses territory. Nobody's shocked by that. Countries like Poland, Lithuania, and even the United Kingdom believe that rewarding Russia now encourages future invasions, possibly even on NATO soil. This is what I said, that they're in a tough position because what's stopping Putin from doing this again and again and again and again and again until you actually just have all of Ukraine? Do I think he's going to touch NATO soil? No, but the guy's psycho. It's tough to read psychos, it turns out. Yeah, you never know what they're going to do. That's why they kind of make good leaders sometimes. And they only make good leaders when they don't do something psychotic, to be honest. But you like that tactic of, well, I don't know what he's going to do. That's what they did with Trump with his first term. They're kind of like, I don't know what this bro's going to do. I don't know. The second fear that they have is Europe does not trust Russia. Nobody should trust Russia. Or a U.S.-Russia deal cut without them. NATO remembers 2014 when guarantees to Ukraine collapsed, and they don't want peace terms that depend entirely on Washington enforcing them. Now, behind the scenes, you have European diplomats saying that Trump's framework treats Ukraine like a pawn. Okay. And they are terrified that if the U.S. steps back, that they will be holding the security bag. This is why they want a seat at the table and a veto on any concessions. I see their point, to be honest. But at the end of the day, that's why I told you guys yesterday, if this is how it's going to go, then why have Trump involved in the first place? Okay, well, you guys want to handle it. You guys do your thing. We're going to go do our thing. Peace out. I mean, it's no different than World War II. That's what we told them to do. I mean, FDR was telling Churchill, like, hey, man, sorry, buddy. We want no involvement. That's on you. And by the way, it wasn't FDR just saying that on behalf of FDR. FDR was saying that on behalf of the American people, because Americans, surprisingly, I know this is a shocker to everybody, doesn't like war. Truthfully, we're the type of people who just want to be left alone. Leave us alone. That's all we want. As you can imagine, Moscow's responding to all this. The Kremlin said on Tuesday that American negotiators were unable to offer a compromise Putin wants, which is all of Donbass, permanent neutrality from Ukraine, removal of Western military infrastructure, long-term sanctions relief. Trump's early proposal, that was kind of leaked, by the way. Not kind of, it was leaked. Gave Russia control of land it already holds, plus portions of Donetsk, Ukraine, still holds, which is a major concession. But it seems, looking at the talks from Moscow on Tuesday, that Putin wants more. And that's why Moscow publicly said, quote, some American ideas are good, but we cannot agree, end quote. This is Putin signaling to everybody that he thinks time is on his side. And I hate to say it, he's right. And Putin holds a lot of cards here. I would say more cards than anybody else. Because he knows that nobody wants to start World War III. He knows Donald Trump doesn't want to start World War III. He knows this. And so everybody's kind of walking on eggshells around the psychopath because they don't want him to go usurpacious and launch a nuclear warhead or some stupid stuff because he's a psycho. Yeah, it turns out, see, somebody that's not a psycho wouldn't launch a nuclear warhead. They'd say, okay, all right, I get it. Because if NATO goes in, or if the European allies go in against Russia, it would be GG. And my viewpoint of this is, and this is my opinion, I think Russia is a paper tiger. I don't think Russia has the military that they project that they do have. I don't think they have much. I think it's all propaganda. Everything's tight-lipped there. I don't think really they have much of a military. I think it's kind of the same thing with China. China claims to have billions of people. There's been people that have been coming out. I mean, it's conspiracy theory that China doesn't actually have billions of people. They have like 600 million people or something like that. It's a lot of damn people, but it's not over a billion. You gotta ask yourself, looking through all this stuff, parsing it, hearing about it all the time, what does it all mean? Right now, the U.S. is trying to end a war. NATO, depending on how you look at it, seems to be wanting to continue one. And Europe wants influence, but we here in the United States, we want results, man. We want this thing to be over. Which means we may be heading for the biggest U.S.-NATO policy split since maybe the Iraq War. And here's the silence that is out there that doesn't want to face the reality. But there is an obvious reality to all this. If Trump forces a peace deal, who's going to stop him? It's true. I mean, I say this all the time. It's kind of like what's going on over there in Venezuela or down in Mexico, where Trump's like, I'm going to send in the cartels. Get Pete Hegseth in my room. I want the cartels gone, Pete. Right, as he's sipping on his Diet Coke. And at the end of the day, all these libs have their panties in a bunch. And all it is the force doctrine. What is Mexico going to do about it? What is Venezuela, like that little shimmy, going to do about it? Exactly nothing, because we have the mightiest military, and I'm being careful with my words because I want to express this as clear as possible. The mightiest military that's ever existed since planet Earth has ever been around. Now, do you get to go bully people? Yeah, it turns out you do. Welcome to life. Yep. And I'm not saying we should go bully people. See, they can't, and you know who they is. They can't separate the two, folks. And whenever you're talking to one, just know there is no separation. There's all or nothing. So when you say things like we do here on the show, I understand, and I say the way I do because I know that you're capable of doing it. They're not capable of doing it. And they is, well, we know who they is. They is they. I'll just end it there because I'm not going to end the show, but we got more news to cover. And what I have to say about that is not that important. Hey, but Brad, I want to hear what you have to say. I know you do, but we got time here. We're at a time frame. By the way, if you get that like and subscribe button, I'd really appreciate that. If you get that like button, that helps a lot. Jamming that like button, that thumbs up, that really does help you guys. And by the way, everybody that actually does it, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, Trump forcing a peace deal. That NATO's not going to be able to do anything about it. Just in the same way nobody else is going to be able to do it. Nothing. They ain't going to be able to do nothing. But here's the other part of it. NATO can make it a little bit messy for Trump and politically painful and diplomatically pretty expensive. This is why Rubio's absence actually mattered. And this is why Root is digging in. And this is why peace is turning into geopolitics, not diplomacy. Now they're making it seem like we're not fighting with each other, but there's some big disagreements going on. So here's the bottom line. The U.S. NATO is negotiating with Moscow directly. NATO wants to have a seat at the table and more leverage. Russia wants more territory than the U.S. is willing to offer. Ukraine feels sidelined and pressured, obviously. And Europe feels a lopsided peace that leaves them exposed. So it's not just about this war and land. It's also a war about influence and who gets to decide the future of Europe. Is it Washington? Is it Brussels? Is it Moscow? Is it Ukraine? I don't know. We'll have to wait to find out. But it's awful. Oh, it is awful. And I don't know if it's going to get resolved here with Trump in office, but we'll have to see, folks. We'll have to see. Like I said, if you're enjoying what you're seeing here and hit that like and subscribe button. Hi, everybody. We are live. Yes, we do this live. No need to ask. We do. We absolutely do. And I always enjoy hanging out with you fine patriots in the morning. Thank you so much. By the way, we do have Dark MAGA tonight. So I want to give you a shout out to Dark MAGA. We streamed actually quite long yesterday. If you want to be a part of Dark MAGA, it is behind a paywall for a certain time period during the month. And you need to be a part of Rumble Premium. And it's a tight-knit group. We just get as many views as we do on a normal podcast as we do in Dark MAGA, which is always odd to me, but it's always appreciative. It's always nice to see people still tuning in and having a good time with the show here. Well, Trump's immigration moves after National Guard shooting. Oh, here we go. Buckle up. The national conversation around immigration, in my opinion, has really took a dramatic turn. And it all happened because of the tragedy that, as we said here, should have never happened in the first place, where an Afghan migrant who was brought into the United States during Biden's botched withdrawal opened fire in Washington, D.C., deleting one National Guardsman and nearly deleting another one. And I heard the other one is still fighting for his life. Now, Trump is responding with a pretty aggressive immigration freeze. Probably one of the most aggressive that we've seen in decades, maybe even my lifetime. Going through various articles, I would like to start with what the Trump administration has actually done. And this isn't some symbolic thing. This is substantive, man. He's halted asylum processing. He's halted visa processing. And he's paused green card ceremonies for high-risk countries. They have identified, meaning the Trump administration, 19 countries. Afghanistan, and as you could imagine, dozens across the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. And this is a quote here, operationally concerning is what they said. And potential hotbeds of extremist infiltration. The left is going to look at this and say, oh, well, this is discrimination. How diabolical. Yeah, it is discrimination. Welcome to the world. It's always fun. Do you know? I know you know this. I don't think they realize this, that discrimination in every form is not bad. Not in every form, or I should say in every situation. If you saw a guy that was pointing a firearm at somebody else and you decided to run away screaming, that guy's crazy, that guy's psycho, I don't want to be around him anymore, that's discriminating. Why are you doing that? What's wrong with that? That's discrimination, in my opinion. There's a guy that's acting psycho, a little bit crazy, maybe slapping his head or something. Doesn't need a firearm. He's just slapping his head in a McDonald's. And you remove yourself from the situation. Aren't you discriminating against that psycho? Weird. And let's just say that was in a region of the country that had massive amount of crimes to where when you order a bag of fast food, they have to rotate that thing so you can grab your food. You put your money in, they rotate it, they take your money, they rotate it again so you get your food. You don't actually ever see anybody or talk to anybody because it's so crime ridden. Not every situation or form of discrimination is bad, but we have to pretend like it is because we have to pretend like idiots. And that's my favorite quote. Let's pretend like we're stupid. I should make shirts like that, shouldn't I? Let's pretend we're all stupid. Let's pretend to be dumb. It turns out that there's a lot of violent people that are coming out of that region. And again, we have to act stupid and pretend like there isn't terrorist camps there. Do y'all remember after 9/11, after we saw all those terrorist camps on the VHS footage that they'd always play in the news, and they're on the monkey bars because they didn't have anything with their freaking togas or whatever the hell they wear. They're I don't know what you call that. Their uniforms, what do you call those things? What the hell talk about their gowns? I don't know what the hell they wear. I'm American muscle, baby. And we saw those videos. Now there's videos. They ain't going on monkey bars, man. If I showed you a video of our military and I showed you a video of the terrorists camps and they're doing like their outdoor shooting and their tactics, you would not be able to, I mean, those that were in the military might be able to distinguish. The average American would not be able to distinguish between the United States military and the terrorist organizations now. The look, the uniforms, the posture. By the way, this is not my opinion. This has literally been shown on Sean Ryan, who is a former Navy SEAL with other Navy SEALs. And they were like, that looks like American military. And it's a terrorist camp. And that was brought to you by Sarah Adams, codename Superbad, who's a former CIA terrorist tracker. So yeah, we probably should look into that region a little bit more and put a little pause going, I don't know. In the same way, and this is, again, I know we all have to act stupid here all the time. All the time. When you go into a crime-ridden area that is known, not just by the state, but the country, don't you kind of go, I don't know if I want to go in there, or I'm going to be a little bit careful. I'm going to kind of not want to talk to anybody around here. I'm going to maybe just not want to get out of my car. Right? There's a lot of things that go through your mind of, maybe I don't want to do this, or you're kind of second guessing. No, what you're actually doing is you're vetting. You're deciding who you want to talk to, who you want to deal with, and you discriminate left and right. If you're going to ask for directions, on one side of the street, you have a guy that has an MS-13 tattooed on his face. And there's a little pokey hanging out, which you don't know exactly what that is. It might be a firearm. It might just be a thing of drumsticks. I don't know. And then on the other side of the street, you have a nice elderly woman. She's just out there pouring water on her plants. You can't discriminate according to the left. No. Who are you going to choose? Who are you going to choose to ask directions from? Now, the left, I don't see a problem talking to the MS-13 guys. He's a good guy. He's all fine. Yeah, well, we know what you would do. Yeah, you've shown your colors. We know. I would go with the elderly woman. Watch, it turns out the elderly woman's almost MS-13, pulls a gun on me. Give me your shit, sucker. Like, Jesus, grandma. You get the point I'm trying to make, though. You vet people all the time in your life. All the time. And that vetting is discrimination. And discrimination is fine in some cases. But again, we got to act stupid. Because when we act stupid, we feel like we're giving equality, we're being empathetic when we do it in compassion. In some cases, it's bad. In some cases, discrimination is bad. It turns out it's very nuanced. So the administration has identified 19 countries. The USCIS has been told to re-vet everyone from those countries. Thank you. No problems with that. Not just new applicants, by the way. We're talking even people who have already been approved. They're going to revet. Because you can't trust the former administration because they sucked. If you were days away from being sworn in as a U.S. citizen, that ceremony is now on hold. Some would say this is the most extensive immigration pause since Trump's original 2017 travel order, where he was deemed as a racist and a xenophobe and a discriminatory animal. He's so terrible. You know what's weird? Is all these people are complaining about Trump putting a hold and a pause and wanting to vet all these countries. Do you notice these aren't exactly the countries that people just thrive? They just salivate and want their honeymoon in. You don't notice that? It's kind of odd, right? If these countries were so great and they didn't have any problems, isn't it kind of odd that all these lefties, if they do get married because nobody wants to marry them because they're psychos, how come they don't want a honeymoon in Afghanistan? What's wrong with Afghanistan? It's a good place. Or some of these other 19 countries. Do you notice they're not like on the top of the list for people to just go honeymoon or just, I don't know, have a nice vacation off of work because they want to relax? A lot, right? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with the countries? I was told they're a great place. A little weird. A little weird that their actions don't follow what's coming out of their mouth, but that's a typical thing. Here's why this is such a watershed moment. The Afghan migrant who carried out the attack shouldn't have been anywhere near the country's capital. Or, by the way, even in this country, period. The Afghan migrant who carried out the attack shouldn't have been anywhere in this country or near the capital. According to DHS, there was no criminal background check, no biometrics check, no cyber vetting, and no financial screening. He walked right through the front door of America with zero verification. And why? Why was he able to do this? Because he entered under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome, a rushed mass parolee program that admitted 77,000 Afghans with minimal screening to no screening at all. And here's the damning part. A federal watchdog, the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, warned all the way back in 2022 that the vetting was, quote, poor and, quote, incomplete, and in some cases, quote, entirely absent. That comes from the Special Inspector General. Even worse, the Pentagon admitted that some evacuees who were cleared and flown into the United States, just gonna pull over for this one, folks. Open up your ears, take out the Q-tips. They were flown into the United States and were later found to have ties to terrorism. Now, this is not a surprise to anybody other than if your head was under a rock and you're a complete idiot. It was a warning ignored, is what it was. I would also like to add a little context here that you're not going to hear from the mainstream media networks, because that's what we do. We bring you the stuff that they don't, or that they don't want to talk about, or if they do talk about it, it's buried 28 pages down and, well, you got work to do, you got family to take care of, so we're going to cover it here. Of the 77,000 Afghans admitted, only 1,200 were actually special immigrant visa holders. Meaning, most were not translators. Most were not assistants, or even contractors who worked for U.S. forces. Huh. Wow. It turns out that when you have lax policies, lax regulations, and you don't really vet anything or do anything at all, actually, because it's Joe Biden, people are going to take advantage of that? I'm being a smart aleck, and I know that you know that. This is so common amongst the Democrat Party. It is a wild thing. I think they do it on purpose because I'm incapable of getting there. I'm sorry, you guys. I know that you're capable of doing it. I'm not. I can't believe that many people are actually that stupid. And I have too much faith in Americans It's tough for me to be like, oh, well, the American citizens are just stupid. It's a tough thing for me to digest because I don't believe it. I really don't. I think it's all on purpose. And I think and that's why I wrote my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Not to give it another shameless plug, but I think the whole goal here is to destroy this country. They didn't get what they wanted. They lost the Civil War, and ever since then, they've been trying to get that power back. They lost. I'm not saying it's one of the main reasons, but I think that's one of the reasons. And I don't think Democrats are going around, oh, because of the Civil War, I want to get my power back. It's not what I'm saying. They've been losing it for a long time. Long time. And they've been making the wrong decisions for a long time. And they had to change history to try to make it seem like they've been making the right decisions. That's why history teachers don't talk about the Democratic South and the Republican North when they teach Civil War. They don't teach that shit. Why? Because those teachers are Democrats, you guys. Why would they make themselves look bad in front of all those kids? Miss Johnson, what are you registered as? After you get done with that whole thing, talking about Democrats wanted slavery, that they were going to kill thousands of men, blah, 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 all this stuff. And you're going to raise your hand in front of those kids? Oh, I'm a Democrat. And that did happen. Because it's embarrassing that you're part of a party that has such a terrible history. And that is why they found out, oh, if we could give them a caveat that there's some big switch that took place, I'm in the clear. But hold on. Well, I'm registered Democrat. But what happened was there was a big switch. And so now really the Republican Party is that party that did all that terrible stuff. So you can still like me and I'm okay. That's what they do. And by the way, the big switch is bullshit. Talk about it in my book, Trojan Horse, How the Left's Destroying America. If you also want to read about it and hear about it, Dinesh D'Souza actually talks about it. One of the few people that actually talks about the big switch being a bunch of smoke. So where were we? Oh yeah, they're just they're a bunch of they were no involvement with like the United States, meaning they weren't translators, they weren't assistants, and all this other stuff. When DHS did an audit in 2023, this is what they found: multiple evacuees hit on the FBI's terror watch list. This is not a shock because Christopher Wray, the former FBI director, was like waving his hands like this, going, "This is worse." The alarm bells and all the whistles going off and the flags being raised and it is dramatically worse than 9/11. We have so many terrorists in this country. It's not even close to 9/11 is what basically he was saying. Some were flagged after they were already living in the United States. This is also not a shock to anybody on the show that's been watching me for a while. I've been covering this for years. So if this is a shock to you, that means you were not watching the Bald Brad show. I have actual videos where we showed them talking about, meaning them, former CIA terrorist trackers, saying that we actually know where they live. Did you guys know there's terrorists from Benghazi living in the United States? That whole debate, I mean, they did a movie on it, 13 hours. We know license plate numbers of actual, oh, I don't have enough time to cover all this. We know the license plate numbers of some terrorists living in this country. And we're allowing them to live in this country because we are stupid sometimes. Not all the time. Brad, did you just say Americans aren't stupid? Look, we're all stupid every once in a while. I'm stupid a lot of the time. Check this out. One evacuee, you're going to love this, linked to explosive making networks was released into our country because, quote, no ice bed space was available. I'm going to take a sip before I lose my mind. Let me be very clear here. This is not an isolated tragedy, man. This was a predictable outcome of a broken system, and we were all calling that it was going to happen for a while now. Now, you can't even understand this shooting without understanding where it began. During the August 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal, evacuation lines broke down, paperwork was tossed aside, People were waved through with no verification. Some evacuees had no documents at all, by the way. And troops were ordered to move people and not verify people. You had military whistleblowers testified that the priority was speed, not security. One Marine testified to Congress that U.S. forces were told, quote, do not stop the flow. If they are breathing, put them on a plane, end quote. That's what created this pipeline. That's how this gunman got here. And that's why Trump's new immigration freeze is not just political. It's a national security recalibration. It's a big deal. And I'm all on board for it. So what does it all mean? Well, here's Trump's new directive and like what it does. It stops immigration processing from 19 flag nations. Even people in the final stages of approval, like I said, must wait for a new round of vetting. It also freezes swearing in ceremonies. No citizenship until the government re-verifies identities and security backgrounds. All on board for that. Launches deep review of all evacuees. Many of the 77,000 Afghans may now be subject to re-interviews, biometrics, enhanced database checks, and terror watch list synchronization. The only issue that's not going to be checked here because Biden's an idiot is that some of these people, even if they did have identification, have fake identification. And again, that comes from former CIA terrorist tracker Sarah Adams, who says that they actually have a guy over there in the Middle East that produces basically identical passports for these people and gives them a new identity that are terrorists. And if some of them they've been able to track. That's how they know all this stuff. Prioritizes deportations for those who fail revetting. Yeah. How about have the plane already going when this happens? That'd be nice. Let's not wait and say, oh, well, you know what? You didn't pass, man. You're a freaking terrorist over there, buddy. Oh, well, you know, actually, we don't have an ice bed for you. Well, have fun. See you later. There's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street, and there's a processing for getting your voter registration in for the Democrat Party. Have a nice day. Now, that's basically what Biden said, right? To a bunch of illegal immigrants and to terrorists that were coming in this country and criminals and drug cartel and all these other people is, yeah, hey, oh, you want to come in? Who are you going to vote for? Who are you going to vote for? If you fill this out, oh, what's this? Oh, yeah, I forgot you don't read English. This is called a Democrat Party voter registration form. What's Democrat? Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and sign on the dotted line here. Bada bing, bada boom. You're good. Pass that in. If you head down the road right there, that's America. Have a good time. Don't blow yourself up. We're going to prioritize deportations for those who fail vetting. The big question we got to ask here, and DHS is openly admitting what critics warned about for years, is this attacker wasn't the exception. He may just be actually a warning sign. There was a Pentagon report, I don't know if you all remember this, that came out in early 2024, and it estimated that as many as 1,000 evacuees had insufficient or missing verification information, including some tied to extremist organizations. These aren't theoretical risks. These are people living in Minnesota. They're in Virginia. We actually know they're living in California, Texas, and Arizona as well. We know where they live. We know the states. This is why I don't understand why we're doing this as a country. We are just asking to get our, you know what, pushed in again. And this shooting has forced the administration to confront something they avoided until now. You cannot protect Americans if you don't know who you're letting in. And it's tough because Americans out there, and you know who they are, think it's okay to have open borders. These people aren't going to do anything harmful because they've been living in a milieu in a country that is actually really safe. America is truthfully a very safe country in totality. And they lived in peace compared to the rest of the world for so long. They've come to become complete idiots and don't realize there's real evil out there. There's real harm. And I see it every day in the classroom. I feel bad because I'll bring up stuff like the California pipeline, because I teach finance, and how that's going to mess with your budget coming up because we're doing budgeting stuff. And I said, gas is a variable expense. And so 1 month you might be paying $5 for gas. And then in a few months later, you might be having to double it because of the pipeline that you have in California. It's not me being political. I don't give any political opinions in there. It's just sheer fact of you're going to have 5 pipelines or 5 refineries left in the state of California. And if somebody goes usurpacious and people are psycho, and that's what I said, people are psycho, there's real evil out there in the world. If they blow up a pipeline or do something terrible, or another country goes to war, or a country invades another country, well, I mean, what are you going to do? And now, because you didn't have that budgeted in your budget, you're going to take a massive hit because you're already living paycheck to paycheck, which most Americans do. And their minds were blown. And I have to remind them, like, dude, not everybody likes America. There's real evil out there. It's not fun to talk about, but it's the reality. And that class is a reality class. You're dealing with personal finance. And I hate to say it, but people like Russia invading Ukraine affects your finances. China wanting to go into Taiwan affects your finances. The president affects your finances. Everything does. So here's where things stand and where we stand. A National Guardsman is deleted. Another is barely clinging to life. A migrant admitted without vetting pulled the trigger. And now Trump is hitting pause hard in all immigration from high-risk nations. The first major immigration overhaul in Trump's second term, thank God. And I hope it's not the last. Because once you admit 77,000 people entering this country without proper screening, and by the way, there's millions more, the question becomes, what else is waiting to be uncovered? Oh, I already gave you my suspicions years ago of what I think is going to happen. And it's very, very sad of what I think is going to happen. I told you, and again, we had a lot of new viewers, so let me just explain what I think is going to happen, and I could very well be wrong. And I pray to God that I am wrong. I think there is going to be another terrorist attack. And some of you might classify that as a terrorist attack. Totally get it. But I'm talking a big one. And what I said, and this was under Joey's term, and I said this years ago, for those that are longtime show listeners, you know I said this. I said what will most likely happen is Joe Biden, during this massive migration allowance of millions of people to pour into our border, unvetted, terrorists, drugs, cartels, all these people, blah, 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 smugglers, is there won't be a terrorist attack under Joe Biden's administration, but there will be under Donald Trump's administration. And who are they going to blame for this? What are Democrats and the mainstream media going to say? Oh, see, I told you so. He couldn't protect you guys. He allowed this to happen. They aren't doing their jobs. He's the one to blame, blah, blah, blah. I've been calling this out for years, and I think it's going to happen. I would be shocked if there wasn't a major terrorist attack in this country in the next 3 years. I'm not asking for it. I hope it doesn't happen. I pray to God it doesn't happen. But because you had idiots run this country for so long, we have now put ourselves at such a risk that we don't actually know if it is or isn't. We don't know. And that's just great. You just, let's go to the mall, mommy. It's not my money. And boom! Brought to you by the Democrat Party and Joe Biden administration. The real evil out there, man. There is real evil. And I hope some people wake up to that fact that there really is that. And you need to protect your own country and your own borders. Turns out we're not as civilized as a species as some people say we are. Because you don't see imperialism as much. You don't see people invading other things as much. It's silly. I don't know. I'm a pessimist if you haven't got that whole thing. Well, thanks for checking out the Bald Brad Show. We're going to be back here later today at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do this each and every money. I want your money. Make sure you donate, by the way. We would love donations. It just slipped out of my mouth. It rolled off the tongue so easily, didn't it? We have a donation tab at baldbrad.com, but also if you want to give a super chat donation as well, don't feel like you have to. It's just there for those that want to give back to the community. We'll be back here today at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Dark MAGA. Would love for you guys to join us. We do something like this. We go over long form video, watch more videos, more breakdowns, stuff like that. Would appreciate if you come join. It's more intimate. There's a lot more people in the chat, and we have a good time. With that being said, have a blessed day, you guys. Be safe. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. And I will see you at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time sharp. Take care, Patriots.